4 years ago, I've uploaded a video called How to Not Play Chess. And on that video, I've covered the basics of the Queen's Gambit opening. A proper response here is get a vampire, and this two will battle it out in the distance somewhere. But this time around, I'm going to be playing as black, and we're going to be doing the Sicilian Defense, the dragon variation. And you know, chess is a racist game because white will always have to move first. So what we'll have here is a king's opening. A pawn to e4 will reply to pawn to c5. This is known as the Sicilian. In chess, what you want to do is develop your minor pieces as early as you can. So we'll have a knight to f3. We don't want this pawn hanging the c5 pawn, so we'll move our pawn to d6. What white can do right now is put pressure on that c5 pawn by moving his pawn to d4. We can protect our c5 pawn or just capture the d4 pawn. In this case, we'll just capture, and we'll have a series of exchanges here. We can attack the e4 pawn by moving our knight to f6. Of course, white will reply by moving his pawn to c3. And now moving this pawn to g6. This is now known as the Sicilian's dragon variation. White will want to have a sturdy central control. This pawn is, while the knight is defending the e4 pawn, it's not, the knight can't move anywhere. The knight can't always babysit that pawn. So what he would want to do is move his pawn to f3. Now, so you may notice here that white is very dominating right now in terms of position and in development. He already has two knights in development. He already has his central pawn locked in there. So white is winning just in position right now. What we would want to do here eventually is move our bishop to g7. So we'll have a fianchetto and eventually castle here. But that's not what's gonna happen. Since we're late in development, we don't need to castle just about now. We will move our knight to c6. Bishop would want to go to e3, not only developing this bishop, but preventing our c6 knight threat. So you might be asking right now, what is the best move? Should we move our bishop to g2 and castle? No. What we can do here right now is knight takes. But before white can place bishop takes knight, you should ask the player what's their favorite color. Most likely they'll say blue, and that's when you play your blue Uno skip card. So they'll skip a turn. So we can send this knight back home to c. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's to c6. I was doing so well. A good move for white is bishop to b5, pinning this knight unable to move. Alright, so to remove the bishop threat and to trick it to go to its own death, we have to show the bishop a sexy bishop picture. We'll give it to one of our pawns here, and that will attract the bishop to go to b6? Yeah, to go to b6. We'll take pawn, and now we are winning in material. The best move for white is to strengthen on his bishop on e3 by wearing his pawns as a hat. No. Now with this piece right here has the power of both bishops and pawns. The best move for white can do here is move his super bishop to c5. And now, unfortunately, we will lose our b6 and our d6 pawns. The best move that we can do here is to actually sacrifice two of our pawns. And I'll tell you why. It is so that we can summon our Blue Eyes White Dragon. As you can see, I believe this is an 8-star card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, it's an 8-star card, so it required to sacrifice to put it in play. With this, that we can take both bishop and pawn. And although the Blue Eyes White Dragon is a good card with 3000 attack, for now it's the best played move to put this on defense mode. It's only because white will sacrifice 4 pieces to summon an actual dragon. Holy crap, this is big. Which will destroy our Blue Eyes White Dragon, unfortunately. So what to do with this dragon threat is a simple reply of knight to e4. Have that knight call it fat, make it feel insecure. After calling the dragon fat, the dragon will want to shrink down because of how insecure it is, and it'll run away from the board. And as you can see right now, we were in a pretty bad situation before, where it was pretty much the white dominating the board and they were leading with development. But in this case, not anymore. The best move for white right now is how his king is exposed and there's not much left in the board to protect the king, so the king would want to castle at obviously the king's side. And now to just finally win this, bishop to c5 check, king must move. Knight to f2 check. The only move here is to take with the rook, and now we take back the rook. White can't do much here. He could threaten with a check, but that'll just delay the inevitable of a checkmate for his part. So the best thing that white can do is called a super castle. What that means is that rook must fatten up and the king must take castle inside of the rook. Holy shit, that actually looks pretty cool. Having a giant rook and a king rest on top of that rook gives white a distinct advantage. So at this point, we want to trade the queens. We don't want him to have a giant rook and a queen at the same time. No, don't fall. So what to do at this point is we will need a healer, we will need a tank, and we will need a DPS. So obviously our tank will take the first damage. Whether or not we can block the attack depends on a dice roll. So come on, good dice roll. 18, we blocked the attack. While this is all happening, our own bishop will try to convert the pawn to join our side. Like, hey, your king has become like all evil and you should like join our side. We're like winning anyway. Yeah, sure. So when that has converted into our own pawn, we can then move it and promote it back to a queen. Now that it's good that we have a queen, the king is gonna attack again with its giant rook. Hopefully we get a good dice roll. Oh no, that's a 4. That means we're about to lose our rook, unless our bishop made a sacrifice and push it out of the way. Don't stop falling. Now that the bishop made the ultimate sacrifice, it not only saved our rook, but it also pushed our rook into the A file, meaning that our rook can merge and fuse into a super mega giant awesome rook, which is like, come on, stop falling, please. And our queen will be on top of it, and this will be checkmate. I'm done. This video's stupid.